Browns locker room. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. In that Cleveland Browns locker room, there's a lot of animosity towards Shedeur Sanders. Is it a fair one? No. Shedeur hasn't done anything to a lot of these locker room players. All he ever did was dig in deep, work hard with a work ethic like no other, and that's always going to be called out. Now, what this guy did tell me on the phone is a lot of these dudes done dapped up Shedeur before while he was at Colorado.
Relaying the news, and today we're going to talk about the media.
Right now it's Shedeur Sanders, right? I mean, there is just so much content, so much debate, so much vitriol over Shedeur Sanders. They have remained relevant even when they're not winning. And I really ended up liking him as a person as well, and I still do. I think they really looked at it and thought, he's going to be fine here. So it really hasn't been him as much as it has been everything around him. And a lot of it...
Don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. You know what makes this whole thing sting even more? The timing. Right now, as the Cleveland Browns are staring down a must-win divisional matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, their locker room isn't locked in on Lamar Jackson. They're not zeroed in on the Ravens' defense, on stopping that run game, on fixing their own mistakes from last week. No. The conversation, the whispers, the tension in the air, it's all about Shedeur Sanders. And that's why this matters. That's why this story isn't just gossip. It's a spark in the middle of a gasoline-soaked room. Look, Cleveland has never been a stranger to drama. We've seen it for decades. Talent on the roster, hope in the preseason, maybe even a big win or two. But then it happens. Something internal, some distraction, some energy that takes the focus off football and puts it on everything else. And when that happens, the Browns don't just stumble, they collapse. We've seen locker room divisions take down whole seasons. We've seen coaching staffs lose the pulse of the team. And now here we are again. Kevin Stefanski should be leading this team into Baltimore with nothing but confidence. He should have his players focused on execution, on toughness, on silencing doubters with a statement win. Instead, reports are leaking that his guys are side-eyeing a college quarterback, a kid who hasn't even declared for the draft yet. Think about how wild that is. You've got veterans, grown men, professionals with millions on the line, distracted by what Shedeur Sanders is posting on Instagram, by the media spotlight he's commanding. And Stefanski, he's letting it fester. He's letting it live inside his walls. That's bigger than football. That's culture. That's leadership. And right now, it's shaky. Because when jealousy or resentment takes root in a locker room, it spreads. It grows into distrust. It grows into me over we. And that's the one thing you cannot afford heading into a battle with Baltimore. And here's where the urgency kicks in. This isn't just week whatever. This is Ravens versus Browns, a divisional fight that could swing momentum in the AFC North. Every snap matters. Every play matters. And while Baltimore is scheming, preparing, sharpening their edge, Cleveland is wasting mental energy on Shedeur Sanders. That's the kind of edge that decides games before they're even played. The Ravens aren't going to feel sorry for you. Lamar Jackson isn't going to care that your locker room is buzzing with gossip. John Harbaugh isn't going to give you a pass for letting distractions eat away at your focus. They're going to line up, punch you in the mouth, and remind you what happens when your team is divided. That's why I'm fired up. Because this isn't just about Shedeur. This is about the Browns, once again standing at the edge of something real, talent, opportunity, a chance to finally prove they belong, and watching it slip away because of the same old cracks in the foundation. And here's the kicker. If Cleveland can't handle whispers about a college quarterback, how are they going to handle Lamar Jackson in their own house? That's the question. That's the cliffhanger. Because the spark has been lit, and Baltimore is holding the match. Here's the thing about Shedeur Sanders. Before he's even taken a single snap in the NFL, he's already commanding the spotlight. And that's not hype, it's reality. Every Saturday in Colorado, every throw, every drive, every comeback, it's been magnified under the biggest microscope in college football. And he hasn't just survived it, he's thrived in it. That's rare. That's different. Think about the path. Colorado was a program nobody was talking about. A team left for dead in the Pac-12. Then Deion comes in, Shedeur steps under center, and suddenly they're the most watched show in the country. Stadiums packed, networks fighting for their games, celebrities on the sideline. And in the middle of it all, a young quarterback who carried himself with composure, who made NFL-caliber throws under relentless pressure, who never blinked. That's not a fluke. That's DNA. And this is what's threatening veterans around the league. Because Shedeur isn't just playing ball. He's redefining what the position looks like for the next generation. He's confident without being cocky. He's calm in chaos. He's got the poise of a 10-year vet with the energy of a 21-year-old hungry to prove himself. That combination, that scares people. Because it exposes them. Now let's be real. If Cleveland actually got their hands on Shedeur in the draft, he wouldn't just compete for a spot. He'd shake up the entire depth chart. Kenny Pickett? That's not the future. Joe Flacco? He's 40. Dylan Gabriel? Too small, too inconsistent. Shedeur would walk into Barry, Ohio, and the conversation would instantly shift. This is the guy. And that's where the tension starts. Because when a young quarterback becomes the face of the franchise on day one, veterans feel the ground shift under their feet. And don't underestimate the power of that spotlight. The media machine follows Shedeur everywhere. Every interview, every Instagram post, every sideline shot, it trends. That kind of attention is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it elevates the entire franchise. On the other hand, it tests the locker room. Can Kevin Stefanski handle that weight? Can he hold a team together when the cameras are more interested in a rookie than his so-called leaders? That's the question Cleveland would have to answer. But let's not mistake this for a weakness. The spotlight doesn't crush Shedeur, it fuels him. We've seen young quarterbacks fold under expectations. But Shedeur, he's been living with expectations since birth. Deion raised him for this moment. This isn't just a football player, it's a standard bearer. A quarterback who shows you can walk into a stadium with a gold chain, throw for 350 yards and still be the first guy in the film room the next morning. That's leadership, that's respect, that's the future of the NFL. So when veterans look at him and feel threatened, they're not wrong to be worried. Because Shedeur isn't coming to fit in, he's coming to take over. And the league knows it. The Browns locker room knows it. Which means the pressure on Stefanski isn't just about wins and losses anymore. It's about whether he can survive the tidal wave of attention that Shedeur Sanders drags into the building with him. And trust me, that tidal wave is coming, draft or no draft. The question is, who's ready to ride it and who's about to drown? And here's where the story turns ugly. Because the moment Shedeur Sanders stepped into the national spotlight, the critics lined up like clockwork. You've heard the takes. He's not NFL ready. He hasn't faced elite defenses. It's all hype, all sizzle, no steak. That's the script they love to run when a young quarterback dares to shine too early. But let's be honest, this goes deeper than football analysis. This isn't just breaking down tape. This is resentment dressed up as criticism. They said he's too confident. They said he's too young. They said he doesn't belong. Over and over, the same tired lines. But what they're really saying is, we're threatened. Threatened by a quarterback who carries himself like a star before the league has stamped its approval. Threatened by a player who refuses to bow down to the veterans just because they got here first. Threatened by the fact that Shedeur Sanders doesn't wait for permission. He moves like he's already earned it. And here's what makes me furious. These are grown men, established pros, sitting in NFL locker rooms, rolling their eyes at a kid who's done nothing but put in work. Instead of respecting his grind, they're hoping he stumbles. Instead of seeing him as the future, they want him humbled, broken, knocked down a peg. That's not analysis. That's ego. That's jealousy. That's fear. Kevin Stefanski, he's supposed to be the adult in the room, the leader, the guy who says focus on Baltimore, not on a college kid in Colorado. But instead, he's letting this rot live inside his locker room. He's allowing his players to turn Shedeur into a punching bag for their own insecurities. That's weak leadership. That's how you lose teams. And let's not pretend this is new. We've seen it before. Jalen Hurts, they said he couldn't throw. Lamar Jackson, they said he should play wide receiver. Even Patrick Mahomes, before he was MVP, people called him a system guy who played backyard football. The pattern is always the same. Doubt, dismissal, disrespect, until the kid proves them wrong and makes everyone eat their words. And Shedeur Sanders is walking that same road right now. The hypocrisy is insane. These veterans want the respect they earned through years in the league, but they won't give an ounce of that respect to the young man who's already outworking them. They call it hype, but the truth is they can't stand watching a new face grab headlines they'll never see again. And here's the reality check. Shedeur hasn't even entered the draft yet, and he's already in their heads. He's already shaping the conversation in their locker rooms. That's power. That's presence. And the louder the critics get, the clearer it becomes. This isn't about whether Shedeur is ready. This is about the fact they're not ready for Shedeur. So when you hear the doubters talk, remember this. They said he's too confident, too young, doesn't belong. But we've heard that before. And every time it ends the same way, with the critics scrambling to rewrite their takes while the player they tried to bury rises higher than they ever imagined. And something tells me Shedeur Sanders is about to add his name to that list. Here's what separates Shedeur Sanders from the rest. He doesn't run from criticism. He doesn't fold when the noise gets loud. He absorbs it. He fuels it. And then he turns it back into fire. That's why all this doubt, all this jealousy, all this resentment, it isn't slowing him down. It's sharpening him. We've all seen quarterbacks crumble under the spotlight. They hear the whispers, the media nitpicks every flaw, and suddenly their confidence breaks. But Shedeur, he's built differently. He's been living in that pressure cooker since he was a teenager, since the day his dad, one of the loudest, most polarizing figures in football, put him on a stage. Every camera, every critic, every headline, it's nothing new. It's the air he breathes. And let's not forget the stories coming out of Colorado. Teammates talk about how Shedeur is the first one in the film room and the last one to leave. They'll tell you he's not just running through highlight reels. He's dissecting every defensive look, every blitz package, every tendency. That poise you see on Saturdays, that calm in the pocket when the rush is closing in. That's not arrogance. That's hours of preparation. That's the product of a quarterback who studies like Brady, who trains like his career depends on every rep, who carries himself like the NFL is already calling his name. The more they doubt him, the more dangerous he becomes. Think about it. We've seen this movie before. Lamar Jackson was told he couldn't throw. He turned that can't into an MVP trophy.
Jalen Hurts was doubted, benched in college, told he wasn't the guy. Now he's the face of the Eagles and a Super Bowl quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, people thought he was a gunslinger who'd flame out. Instead, he's rewriting the record books. Every great one has walked through the fire of doubt, and Shedeur is walking it right now. What people don't realize is that this is fuel. Every eye roll from a veteran, every headline saying overhyped, every comment about he hasn't proven it, it's all being logged, and Shedeur is the type who will remember every single one. He'll let it simmer, let it burn, and then he'll answer with touchdowns, with wins, with moments that silence entire stadiums. This is what gives me hope. Because Shedeur's story isn't about avoiding the fire, it's about rising from it. He's not asking for an easy path. He's not begging for respect. He's earning it the hard way, the only way that lasts. And every time they try to drag him down, he climbs higher. Every time they doubt, he delivers. Every time they whisper, he answers with work. And here's the truth. By the time he steps into the NFL, all those critics who wanted to see him fail will realize they were part of the reason he became unstoppable. Because the hate didn't break him, it built him. And that's why I believe, when the dust settles, Shedeur Sanders won't just survive this storm. He's going to own it. He's going to walk out of the fire stronger than ever, and the league better be ready.
Let me speak directly to the Cleveland Browns for a second. Kevin Stefanski, players in that locker room, hear me clearly. If you don't get a grip on this energy, if you don't shut down the jealousy, the whispers, the side-eyeing, you're not just going to lose games, you're going to lose your culture. And once that culture slips, once trust evaporates, there's no game plan, no scheme, no playbook that can save you. That's the reality. You can't build a contender when your locker room is poisoned from the inside out. Because here's the truth, Shedeur Sanders isn't going away. He's not asking for permission. He's not waiting for you to be comfortable. He's coming. Whether it's Cleveland or another city, another franchise, he's stepping into this league and he's bringing all the spotlight, all the noise, all the energy with him. And the question isn't if, it's whether you're prepared to handle it. And let's be real, the Browns have a history of letting drama overshadow talent, a history of promising seasons collapsing under distractions. This is your chance to change that, to prove that you can lead instead of fold. But that only happens if you start treating Shedeur Sanders for what he really is, the future. Not a threat, not a distraction, the future. Now to the fans. This is where we come in. Because what we're watching right now isn't just about one quarterback. It's about a shift, a changing of the guard. Shedeur Sanders represents more than stats, more than highlight throws, more than NIL deals and Instagram clips. He represents possibility. He represents a new era where quarterbacks can walk in with swagger, with confidence and back it up with relentless preparation. Where young black quarterbacks aren't forced to shrink themselves just to make veterans feel comfortable. Where talent, poise, and leadership speak louder than hate. So when you believe in Shedeur, you're not just betting on one kid. You're betting on history being written in real time. You're betting on doors being kicked open, on doubters being silenced, on a new standard being set for what's possible at the most important position in sports. That's why this moment feels bigger than football. Because it is. It's about proving that resilience wins. That confidence when matched with preparation becomes unstoppable. That the future of this league belongs to the ones who refuse to be broken by critics, by whispers, by jealousy. So here's my prediction. When Shedeur Sanders makes it to the NFL, and when he starts stacking wins, stacking stats, stacking respect, all the critics who tried to bury him will be left speechless. And Cleveland, if you can't handle him, if you can't recognize the gift in front of you, another franchise will. And you'll be sitting there, watching him hold trophies you could have had. To Stefanski, to the Browns, to every locker room paying attention, clean up your culture or get left behind. And to the fans, believe, because what we're witnessing isn't hype, it's history. And if you blink, you might just miss the rise of something legendary.